She's just gonna add her name.
You like to give me a hard time.
And on a related thing, I actually don't have it as on the agenda. I didn't catch this when I looked at it earlier, is the electing the officers for this year.
That's gonna be like in August. We're gonna push it to
July is
August.
supposed to be the month we don't have it.
Okay, so we won't, all right,
We're just doing
All
it
right,
in
we're
August,
winging
so
it.
we'll add that at the end.
okay.
And we have no minutes. I know Nancy T took the minutes last time. I can't remember if she sent them or not, but we'll do those in August too. So, welcome new members, introductions. Why don't we go around the room, even though we all just kind of introduced ourselves and just explain, tell John a little bit about why you're here, maybe how long you've been here, and what you're looking forward to happening in the future. And Marilyn, I'm going to start with you.
I'm Marilyn Shapley, and then another name that gets butchered. And I've been on the council for 10 years now, a little over 10. And I just find the aging process really interesting. And with my parents, I became deeply involved in negotiating the network of services and things for elderly people over the years, and it just kind of led me down this path. And they asked if I'd be interested in joining, and I naively said, sure, 10 years ago, and I'm still here. I was secretary for 7 years, so if you don't see me jumping up offering to do the minutes, I kind of paid my dues on that one. But anyway, I'm very excited about the things we're looking into in terms of the new community center, senior center, active living center, whatever we're calling it, but it's exciting to see progress on this.
Good. And Nora
Yes.
is our ex officio member, our secret member. Not a non-official member,
Right.
but go ahead, tell us.
So I'm on the recalc committee and they work very closely with the Council on Aging, and I've become very interested in all the activities and the initiatives and everything that comes out of this group. So I like to attend, and I feel like that's how I keep in touch with what's going on. It's a seniors community.
And Nora is part of an original group that started the Friends of Reading Senior 60 Plus. So we now officially have a fundraising arm, much like Rec has one and the library has one, and now we have one. Fabulous group of ladies, and men.
John.
Actually, 2 men now. No, 3 men.
Yes, even
Wow.
increased, yes.
Yeah.
Would you say a priest?
Increased.
Increase.
Priest.
You're only keeping me there so you get a free meeting place.
No.
No. Rosemarie.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm involved with this group because I attend many different classes at the Pleasant Street Center and chat with a lot of different people. So I feel as though I can lend something to the group, knowing what people want. So that's why I'm here. To have a voice for the people who can't make it here.
And I am in my 2nd year as chair. So my 2nd
Just
year.
starting, yeah.
Yeah. Took over from Marilyn.
Oh, I forgot to mention that I did that.
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
I did that for 2 years.
And I enjoy it. When I retired, I wanted to do something. So I volunteered for the Reading Cultural Council. And I did that for several years. And then my term was up and a position became vacant. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I've been here ever since. So great group of people.
and we keep pulling you back in. Every time you think you're done, you're getting pulled right back in.
Oh, I love you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Karen Janowski, I'm a 2-year member of COA. And I'm a town meeting member, and I just thought it was important to get involved with another board. And since I'm well into my 60+ years, this seemed like a really appropriate one. I'm still working, and I'm very interested in accessibility and universal design.
I'm Karen Panett, and I've been on the board, I think, like 5 years now. I also manage an elderly property here in Reading, Peter Sanborn. So to look out for my residents as well as I am 60+, so looking out for myself. So I'm very excited about the possibility now of the new senior center and things for the seniors here.
I'm John Sosinski. This is my first meeting here, brand new. I look forward to being involved. I go to the senior center quite a bit and different activities there. I've seen the attendance grow. I've seen the programs grow. I'd like to see more programs, and I'd like to see the new senior center get built. And
All would.
I'd like to get involved somehow on that, whatever.
Great, welcome. Yes.
John Parsons, town meeting member on and off for over 25 years. I've been on the council for 9. I'm on recalc. I was part of helping Friends of Reading Rec, not for Reading, Friends of Reading seniors get going. And I've been called by some people the Pleasant Street Center curmudgeon, so I that role from time to time.
I did not say that. I'm Chris Kowalewski, the Elder and Human Services Administrator for the town of Reading. I oversee the Pleasant Street Center. Yeah. There you go.
Great. And well, we're really glad to have you, John. Thank you for volunteering. So, select board update. We do not have our select board liaison here. So, we will table that. And, the Reading Active Living Center Committee Liaison Report, and that's John, and you guys just had a meeting, correct?
Yes, we did. We've been supposedly gonna sunset about 3 times now. I think we're finally gonna do it, so we've started the very important process of planning the pizza party for our last meeting. The only other thing I really want to bring up, and I think it's very important, with the slideshow, I think you still call it a slideshow, that's going to be presented to the select board on August 20th. Right now has one slide in the middle of it where we're talking about, recommendations. It says Simon's Way is the preferred site, reviewed by Recalc and Council on Aging using evaluation criteria from multiple other sites. Rank Simon's Way #1. I don't ever remember this council taking a vote to formally say, we prefer Simon's Way. And I'm not so sure that should be in there. Unless we want to take a vote, we couldn't do it tonight because it's not on the agenda.
It took a strong.
But I think we should at least talk about it as to do we want to leave it in there or do we want to take it out?
My reaction is to leave it in there. We all filled out the survey and Simon's Way came on top on the survey for the Council on Aging members because Jenna did them separately. And it went hand in hand with Recalc. So I would suggest that my recommendation is that we leave it in, but the next time we meet, we'll have a vote to officially accept it.
When is Recalc presented to the select board?
August 20th.
20th.
So we're gonna have a meeting
12th.
before that, and it can always be changed.
So we meet the 12th and then we can put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because
Vote.
Recalc was in the exact same position. Somebody pointed out in context of this slide that they never had a real vote either. They just did
Right, so we
this
just did
is a
that.
straw vote, and so they just did that. I think we need to mirror the process, just for the sake of
You know, just being a
Sure.
representative of the recalc, I just didn't wanna,
Yeah.
you know, have something go out there without, you know, bringing it before the council. That's all.
How
Thank
much,
you. It
how
is
much
true.
weight does a vote like that carry? Does, is it, would it be going forward written in cement? And the other sites not re-looked at?
We could word it and say of these two sites. or of the
Well, it's
three
a
sites.
strong recommendation if it's presented to the select board.
Yeah,
After all this research and years of
But
reviewing.
I think it's gonna be one of those things of, you know, we vote to, we favor. It could be any site but Simon's Way, let's just say for an example, but if something doesn't happen, we'll have to reevaluate one of the other sites.
or it could be reworded to say of the three sites found to be available for consideration. This is the preference of the council.
Yeah, the recount took a very simple vote. It was, you know, were you in favor of Simon's Way? And everybody said yes.
For
So,
what, for everything? For a new community center and the pickleball courts?
oh, we weren't talking about the pickleball. Well, pickleball is actually in the
Part of it,
design
yeah.
for the
For Simon's Way.
Senior Community Center, which is now officially called ReCal. But that's another conversation. Hold that thought.
John, go ahead.
Yeah,
Are they gonna do the soil testing before this Simon's Way is recommended? Is that gonna happen, or is, nobody knows what's in there possibly?
It's sort of pending, yeah,
yeah.
it's pending. No, we've made the recommendation knowing that that is an outstanding issue.
And I think this presentation last week also opened up possibilities as well. Where Burbank is willing to consider anything in terms of in their renegotiations.
Of what?
Lease,
Was
the
they
renegotiation.
that was already done?
No,
No,
not for
it's,
this year.
no, it was, this is the renegotiation because the lot, the signed lease was done a year or two ago, so they need to update it to allow consideration of possibilities behind Burbank.
So, and hold that thought, because we're gonna talk more about that at the end when we talk about the schematic design and that kind of thing. So we'll hold that thought. But, and that's my recommendation. If my understanding from listening to the meetings, if there is contamination there, then the town has to make a decision. What are they gonna do? They have to fix it. So at that point, you know, the town has to decide. There is another viable site at Oakland Road. So, you know, is that a possibility? The neighbors are not happy with that. But so there are other options. There is that one other option. We're just staying at the Pleasant Street
No, we
Center.
can't do that.
So,
It's way too small. It's way.
I actually had another thought. I think we should buy property from an adjoining town. And we should, let's, you know, so what if we go a mile over our border if we own it?
it's not a bad idea.
I don't think so. I think
That's
it's
one of
really,
the best ideas I've heard in a long time.
I know, I think it's really innovative.
We've brought that up to partner with another town
Yeah.
and build a center for the two towns. I don't think anybody picked up on that.
I'm not even talking about partnering, I'm talking just buying it or
I
something.
feel like we're getting off track here.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
Thank you,
Yeah, let's
Chris.
get back on.
So,
Buying is a good places to go.
It's supposed to be a short meeting.
and it looks like the slideshow is ready to go. John Sasso is making some additional edits to it, but, and Recalc is planning its pizza party. So,
Are we invited?
We haven't
Are you in
discussed that.
recap?
Right.
I'm your friend.
I can be the date.
They're happy to claim that they've done everything in partnership with us and talk about how we voted on something we haven't yet voted on. So I think we're certainly entitled to a slice of pizza.
Well, okay, so to stay on track and not have Chris scold me, Recal work group update, not certain how that got on here. We haven't had one of those in ages since, May, I think May was our last one. And
Nothing to report.
nothing to report.
Okay.
And Karen Fatino's not here for Mystic Valley Elder Services. Did I put it down right this time?
Okay.
Okay. So that brings us to Chris and his report.
All right, for July, we just finished up the FY 24 fiscal year. So you can read through, we had a really good year. So we pretty much exceeded what I was expecting us to be able to do. So kudos to the staff. I gotta say thank you to the staff. Carrie, our social case manager, senior case manager, social services, Anna, our program, Linda, our front desk, Joe, our transportation, and Janet, our volunteer coordinator. They've done amazing this year. And the numbers look outstanding. Just every month we continue to keep growing. I'm going to jump around just a little bit. You can take a look at the statistics if you want, but we ended this year. I had to add something. I just realized I have something that the one thing that I haven't been reporting is ATS medical transportation. So we report it when Carrie organizes it and gets the applications going, but I haven't been actually adding those rides into this number because they go through ATS and not us. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that moving forward. What's that?
What's ATS?
Alternative transportation. So, I've actually, even though you see on this report total interactions for year to date, 37,393. That does include volunteers from January to June. What it doesn't include is the 1,262 rides, trips from ATS. So depending if you throw that in, we're looking at 38,655. So either way, I'm working on how to report that. With ATS trips would be 38,655.
Joan Coco just joined.
Hi, Joan, welcome.
Thank you. I had no trouble getting in, and no, I'm telling you. Thank you.
Okay.
So anyhow, regardless, our number this year was fantastic. As you can see on the second page, FY 24, we ended FY 23. We had a total of 25,384 duplicated interactions plus evening rentals. So we've had an increase of about 12,000, 13,000 over the past year, which is really good. And then before the pandemic, they were right around 24,564. So,
What is that number?
which one?
Without duplications, the 37,393 is.
That's duplicated.
So what's the number?
Duplicated interactions. Unduplicated would be right around for this year, 1,789. So it's probably a little bit more than that.
I don't understand what that means, what the duplicated, unduplicated means.
So unduplicated means pretty much the total number of people that we interacted with, that we had some way of, communication, not necessarily emails. Some emails are included in this, but not all. Social services are included, but staff, you gotta find a fine line, like you can nitpick. Emails is one of those. So we've reached 1,789 older adults that we have reached. Out of those 1,789, maybe probably a little bit more, they have come to the center, or we've had roughly 38,000 interactions with that 1,789 folks throughout the year.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
so anyhow, it is for a town like this, it is a lot. We have really, we're doing amazing with our numbers, our interactions. It's on par with most larger towns. So, kudos to the staff.
Thank you.
You can see some of the updates, so feel free to read through those. The big thing that's coming up, PFC update, is the week of September 16th, we have our AV system going in. So that's the big, we have that scheduled, so the great room will be, we don't have any activities going on in the great room, so they can, it's a new projector, new screen, new speakers, new microphone system, new control, and a hearing loop system. And I believe it also includes a teleconference type thing as well on that, so we can do meetings. So that'll be installed the week of September 16th, so we're excited for that. And then volunteers, you can see we're adding volunteers, so volunteers have been great as well. Janet's done a great job with getting, every event, I think, over the next 2 or 3 months, there's a handful of volunteers coming in for every event, which is awesome. So we're excited about that. Financial report,
Can I just ask a question?
Yep,
You bought a bocce set a while ago?
we haven't bought it.
Oh,
We did not buy it because we're having some issues with the purchase because the company's in New Zealand, so we're trying to see if we can't find another company
okay.
in the US, so.
I just wondered, I thought if we had it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We had everything was looking good, but because they were in New Zealand and things,
You're not.
not right now. But we're still working on it. Anyhow, we haven't pulled anything from our trust funds or anything, so everything grew. I did get word, I want to say thank you to John Parsons. He added a little bit more to the Parsons Fund. So thank you, John. He gave another $200, so thank you. That's generous and kind, so thank you, John. But trust funds have continued to grown, which I was hoping would happen. While we're using the ARPA funding, so.
Birthday cake money that we did
We should have.
I know.
I gotta double check that when Jenna gets back in a week. But I did,
So,
I think it's shorter, I'll have to double check that.
but we're required by
Yeah.
the trust to spend some
Yeah.
money every year.
So, I had requested that, whatever it was, be pulled out of that back in, I think it was May,
So,
so. Yeah, everything's looking good, numbers are awesome, I'm really excited, for what we were able to accomplish this year.
I have a question.
Yes,
On Route 28, we have sports stores.
what's that?
On Route 28, heading towards North Reading, on the right side is secondhand sports or something.
Yep.
Why can't you go in there and get a watching game?
Well, you can get bocce balls in a game, but what we're looking for is the court, a mobile court, which is a boundary and the court itself, whatever you call
We
it.
just talked about this a couple months ago,
Mm.
it was that whole court that was portable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could use it inside as well.
Use it inside, outside. So it comes with a surface, with a padded surface, and then a boundary that you can take apart and utilize. We're working on it. We're not giving up. We just have to
The actual surface
have to pivot a
of the
little bit.
bocce court is very particular, it's made in a very particular way, very particular sand and substance. So what do you, What are you gonna put, like a material, unroll a material?
I don't know yet because now we have to look at a different company, so we have to see what they have.
So in the meantime, why can't we just get an ordinary bocce set?
But we have one, we just
We do?
need the surface. So,
We don't really have a level surface
yeah,
to play. We have that
The court-
up above the parking lot, but that's not, the balls can very easily roll down into.
we were hoping to play on the patio or the parking lot or inside in the great room. We just don't have that surface material yet. But we're working on it. So anyhow, that's good. That's all I have.
Right. Anybody else have any questions?
I did send you a last minute question. I emailed it an hour before the meeting, so,
We can discuss it.
yeah,
Give me a call.
I included you.
Is that a private question?
Oh, I just, no, I've been thinking about this forever. So we're always reimbursing Chris, and it just seems unfair that you're using your own money out of pocket. And it's every month, it's like sometimes totals $1,000, and it just seems like the town should have a credit card that Chris would use instead, because every month we're paying him back.
Well, it's only a couple hundred. Like this report says, I think May and June. So it's usually,
There's 1,000 in here.
yeah, but it's May and June. It's 2 months put together.
And it's
Yeah.
typically $1,000. That
Um,
just doesn't seem fair to you.
So anyhow, I personally, I don't mind. I'm okay with it. I'm just following town protocol that I have. EHS doesn't have a credit card. I used to use the town P card a little bit here and there. It was just getting difficult where I'd have to walk across, grab the P card, then I go to the store, but then I have to make copies of receipts and then I have to bring the P card back. So it was a lot of extra effort on my part. I think at some point hard to say at some point, that'll probably maybe change, who knows? I don't really mind.
Getting those frequent flyer miles.
Hey, I mean, so, and it really is, the big thing is just like market baskets, the stuff we get from market basket. For events, water, cookies for like community lunch, so I don't really mind. I know Jen and I have looked into it, just to make sure I'm following policy and procedures. I am, until I'm told otherwise. But I don't have, like I said, it saves me probably 30 minutes of time regularly or more. So it's nice, as long as the town's okay with it, which I haven't heard otherwise. It's nice that I can just go down to Market Basket, get what I want, or like usually before work or right at the beginning of the day, get back and get the things going. That's where it's at with that. So it's not, we're not trying to hide anything.
Right,
So,
I'm not thinking you're trying to hide.
Yeah,
It just seems unfair to
Yeah.
expect you to pay
but-
out of pocket.
but the nice thing is, the town is really good. I always get reimbursed the next week, so I get it submitted by Tuesday morning. Usually Monday I make any purchases I need, Tuesday I submit it, the next Tuesday I get check back.
Have you come across a better system at any other center?
Um,
Visited various centers, have you come across any?
I think that varies and I haven't really looked into it very much. I think if we look at a new center, I think probably it'll shift a little bit if we have a new senior center, community center. When, yes, but I don't really mind, so I don't have any. Until the town tells me, hey, you can't do that, then I'll have to switch.
Wasn't Jen also looking into them? There's an issue when we spend money, because
Right.
they don't
Yeah.
want us to be spending money.
Yeah,
And that then gets more complicated for all of us. And
yeah,
and the answer that accounting gives that we have to submit whatever that form is not, to my mind, acceptable, because that implies that we are vendors and puts us in a tax position to have to file self-employment tax. It's just not appropriate at all. So,
Yeah.
and it relates. If they can solve it for us, you should be swept into the same. So
Well, I think it's a little bit different because I'm staff.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what?
Volunteer.
We're staff too,
Well-
because we're staff of a permanent
Yeah.
committee, and we have to be careful about that word too.
Let's put reimbursement, for volunteers on the August agenda. So. put
We're
that-
paid staff as opposed to we
Okay.
who are volunteer staff, but we're staff.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris. Updates, the newspaper outreach, Marilyn,
I got sick last week, and so I didn't get the latest letter to the editor out, and I'm behind. I'm feeling like I can get it out this week, I'm mended, but it feels kind of like these little stabs in the middle of nowhere, and we really need to talk about putting together a campaign, and it needs to be more than me that's writing these things, and it needs to be targeted to when decisions are actually gonna be made in the town. I think it warrants some discussion, and I actually think that's a really good letter, and it might be best to hold it off a little bit until we do it, so it doesn't just disappear into, oh, a few months ago, there was a letter about that.
And I think it'll be better once we have a location.
I agree, and I think it'll be better once we have a owner's project manager and a timeline and things. So I think it's kind of a goodie that we've got ready to slot whenever, but I think it should be part of a sustained campaign for the new senior center, not just a random here and there. So I can send it if people want me to, but I would prefer personally to, let's give it a couple of weeks and see what goes on with this OPM and everything. So.
I think people get the urgency around this. The question is payment, but so.
Yeah.
But I would suggest we hold on
Okay,
until we have a location.
okay, we've got it all polished, Karen, and I have.
Oh, you
come back
do? You're
several
ready to
times.
go?
Oh, yeah, it's ready to go. We've gone back and forth several times, and it's down to 250 words. But I just think we need much more context to this campaign. It's got to be multiple people in a sustained, well-timed, thought-out effort. And I think we can do that. We just haven't done it yet. And those other pieces need to fall in place, all of which are falling into place, so.
I'm thinking that that's a September agenda item.
Probably so.
Because the owner's project manager probably will hope, if everything, if all the ducks lined up properly, could be here as soon as the first week in September.
Mhm.
But going back to what you said, Marilyn, I mean, this owner's project manager is gonna be responsible for coming up with a master plan. So rather than for us to just brainstorm ideas, which
Right.
we've done in the past, and we have a list of all those. So,
I think it will also be important to get a firm, proactive commitment from the rec side of ReCal. We're being told it's not just a senior center, so we need a ready, a sustained voice of, and we're not opposed to it as far as I can tell, but we're not the voice of whatever those other parts are to make it a ReCal and not just a senior center. And there are people in town who should be ready to speak up and join with us, and we need to get those pieces meshed, if you will.
so our September meeting, we put that on as a discussion?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
And the reimbursement we'll put on for the August meeting and as well as elections.
And also, for people who want to go, I believe the Council on Aging thing is in October in the Cape, Chris?
Yes, it is in October. It's down, and,
Any of the date?
we'll look it up.
Because we will need people to indicate their interest, and we'll need to get them registered to go to that and all those good things
My,
by September, so that.
my only question is, it's October 23rd through 25th. Would it be a little bit more wise to, right now, the COA board, which you can, I'm just throwing this out there, is you're just throwing out to like, technically everyone could go, and then the COA would just pay for it. Would it be better,
That's what we
which,
did last year.
which is what you did, but it was also just up here in Danvers, so we didn't have to spend the night or drive back and forth in one day.
Right.
My plan is to just drive down and then come back in one day down when it's on the Cape. Would it be better to send maybe just delegate a couple people to go rather than possibility of everyone going?
What is it?
Because
Where do you want people to go? What is it?
The Cape Cod COA.
The Massachusetts Councils on Aging, it's a professional trade association. Councils on Aging are welcome to join, Elder Services are certainly welcome to join. In many towns, those are the same thing, but not all. People who work in the field but have the mission of this Council on Aging, which is to, the stuff that's on our website, are welcome to go. And there's a third, what you call nonprofits, 501(c)s who have that mission can go. So I think that,
So that's a future agenda item.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think we should talk about, see who's interested. A lot of people can't go because they're working in this during the day.
Yeah, just to chime in with an opinion, I went last year, I was amazed with the amount of programs they had. I mean, they just had hundreds of them. And I was also amazed with how professional, how just what an incredible conference it was.
Yeah.
So if they run it like that every year, I mean,
It is.
people should be going. I'm not suggesting I go again this year. But I wonder if some staff should go besides yourself, Chris.
yeah, I know Anna, I'm trying to get myself and Anna to go. So, but I would like to, we can't discuss this tonight, but I would like to actually rather than making it a free-for-all. Because, let's say everyone on the board said, yes, I'll go, and then I need a hotel room. Does that mean that's all coming out of the trust funds? And that could go really rapidly in the trust fund. So I don't think that's super responsible. But we need to talk about.
We can
about
talk
that.
about it, and we
And I
can
think-
talk about what would be reimbursable and what wouldn't be reimbursable, because that makes sense. If you
Yeah.
work for a business or you work for state government, certain things are not reimbursable, so.
But I think it's a council decision. If we find that this is, because part of our mission is to learn about the needs of elders, and it's an excellent professional conference. I learned so much, and you can only go to so many of the different meetings, and the advantage of multiple people is to be able to spread the knowledge. But anyway, we should discuss it is the point, and we should do it early enough so people can plan and get it on their
I'm gonna
calendars.
put it on the August
Okay,
agenda.
thank you.
Okay. RCTV summer intern. Jean Prado is not here, but she did give me a call. The intern had kind of gone underground for a while, but he has now resurfaced. And he's still very interested in working on the project. So it looks like it's a go. And I think Jean is gonna call you, Chris, to talk about access to the calendar and the pleasantries. I was also thinking, whether a conversation, I don't know if Janet has ever been involved in a conversation on that, but she did the brochure for the Friends, and it's
Well, she
fabulous.
did? That
Yeah.
was Janet?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's fabulous looking. So I'm thinking maybe we can make it look a little bit more professional than it is now. And then we have to do a lot of promotion, because if people don't know it's there, what it was, John, was the feeling was that not all seniors are on the internet, or have either have access or ability to use the internet. But everybody usually has a television set and has access to RCTV. And RCTV does local programming. So what Nora and Jean did was they worked with an intern last
In the
spring.
Reading High School.
Yeah, and she was able to put the entire newsletter on, but you have to get the word out. It's on at certain times. You have to be able to know where to look. Because the TV guide is, it's not easy. So, so there's a little bit more work to do on that end of it. But I was just thinking maybe if Janet could,
Is that the name of the summer intern?
no,
No,
Janet
he's,
is the
um,
All right,
volunteer.
I'm taking notes. What are we saying about the RCTV summer intern, since that is an agenda item?
I can't remember his name.
What are we saying?
he's back.
Anything
He is
else?
back.
He's
He's
back.
He's back.
And he's gonna volunteer. He's,
Okay.
Yeah, last month it was.
Is more available for
Where did he go?
For Teddy's
We
grandpa.
don't know.
Yeah,
He
la-
did
la-
respond
yeah,
to
it's a
some-
high school.
Yeah,
kid.
But he's back.
Yeah.
I mean, Gino, reach out to me. I can always take a look at, see if Janet can maybe be willing.
Basically doing.
as a liaison to RCTV?
No,
No,
He's not, but
okay.
he's
he's a
working
high
on the
school
content
student.
Okay.
That
Oh,
will go
all right.
on
Oh,
the
I see.
volunteer.
So he's transferring.
He's a COA intern. COA intern creating stuff that can be given to RCTV to put on the television.
And
So
it's
a summer,
basically,
Promotion.
COA summer intern.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
right,
The wording on the paper is RCTV summer intern, COA summer intern
for RC.
for RCTV.
for RCTV.
Good way to put it.
How are people able to be aware that this information is on the TV like that?
That's
And
the problem.
where that, how to access RCTV?
So the first part of this project was just to see if we could do it. And Nora and Jean worked very hard with the spring end of the year intern, and they were able to do it. So now this new intern is gonna pick it up. But as I said, we need to provide outreach materials to the seniors so they know at 3 o'clock on Tuesdays, they can watch the newsletter.
And X
Yeah,
channel.
which is a little bit hard to define.
And at
timing,
4 o'clock on Thursday, they can watch it. So RCTV just fits it in wherever there's empty space. So.
Last minute, do they fill it in last minute?
No, they're prepared a month and, they get the monthly newsletter, so it's an every month activity. And it's the calendar basically and all the other happenings. The thing is that RCTV doesn't really monitor the volume of watchers. I don't know if they do that for any of their other programs. We don't really know how many people are tapping into it. I've seen it, I've looked for it.
So whether it's worth it, but that, John, it's something that has been tossed around for, I don't know, a couple of years, let's use our community cable TV station in order to provide outreach activities, but they, and they're a wonderful group and they're very committed, but their schedule is very scattered right now, so we don't get a specific time. So we may find that it's not worth the effort, but since we have volunteer, let's do it again. Right? Okay. I know, and Nora and Jean did a really good job. There's a lot of work. They had to go to meetings at the high
Yeah,
school.
we met a lot at the high school. The thing is, the kids are interested in either graphic design or something related. So they really, and they're very technology advanced, So they sort of, the first one we had sort of took it very quickly and he was able to figure it all out.
Wasn't someone working on a logo for the council on aging?
Yes, actually, she did come up with some options. Not sure where that stands. Did she ever share that with the council? No. Yeah, she had some good logos. That might be something to put on the.
Yeah. We could do that. And that brings us to our final agenda item. Chris, notice it, Con.
I know we're doing well, but I'm not getting my hopes up because I know how I can get off track.
I know,
I'm waiting.
but I put together a PowerPoint of to tell a story and to hopefully move us into the next phase. And
minute.
Maryland's,
Are you going into the schematic design discussion right now?
yes,
You missed an entire
I
part.
did.
Next step for seniors.
Lawn signs,
Oh,
mailing
lawn
lists.
signs and mailing
See, this is
lists.
why I don't get my hopes up. Uh-huh.
Dashed.
Should have kept my. Should have kept my mouth shut.
Promotional materials.
Bumper stickers. Oh, yeah.
Jean, Marilyn, myself, and Marie were there. And
Nora.
No, I don't think I was.
no, you were there. I know, I do have it. And the idea was that as we move forward with this, we are going to have some outreach materials and something that is really effective in the local campaigns is lawn signs. So the four of us met and tried to come up with ideas for lawn signs. And the problem is we cannot, because we are a town volunteer organization, we cannot tell people what to do. So one of our ideas was a lawn sign that said, vote for a new senior center. But we can't do that because you're telling them they should vote for it, and we can't do that. So what I think that we kind of went back to the very first one, which is pretty bland, and it's basically Reading needs a new senior/community center, parentheses, recal, and then have a QR code there, because there might be some people that are walking along Summer Ave or wherever, so they would be able to use the QR code for more information. And we could also update our Council on Aging website and put more information out there.
And this we can do because it is part of our mission is to inform the community about elder needs. So telling the community that the elderly population needs a new senior center is perfectly appropriate as far as I can see.
Did you check to make sure that that was
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, that is.
Well, I know it's our mission. I mean, it's.
No, right,
Yeah,
no,
but-
yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
but
in terms of
with the
lawn
wording,
signs,
we're just
yes,
saying-
the wording.
yeah.
It's okay.
Well, it depends what day you talk
Yeah.
to whomever you talk to at town hall. But, I mean, we still need to check on that, but,
We could always reword it to the current senior center is no longer adequate. And that's just a fact.
Or learn more about Reading's needs for a new senior center.
Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah.
I think with the ones.
And more education
Yes,
focused.
Stoneham had a massive one for their new high school. It was on virtually every lawn and Stoneham was, well, theirs I think did say vote. So I don't know how they
Yeah,
can do that.
that's
but-
what I'm saying, the
That's
vote
it,
part.
that's,
Yeah, I know, we can't say vote, so I don't know how they get away with that.
that was,
No, we
those were
can't say
townspeople
support.
that put that together.
Yeah, well, that's another issue. I personally, along with rec being involved, I think we should be drawing on the town as well. I mean, if select board says go on this, the town is advocating doing something.
Yeah.
But we can sort all that out.
So I guess the first question is the people sitting around this table. Now, do we like the idea of the lawn signs? Kind of goes back to what Marilyn said 10 minutes ago. We need an overall strategy. We don't have an overall strategy, but we did the open houses that way. And, you know, the attendance wasn't fabulous, but we got people in
And we got
Um,
press.
and we got press. So, I just, the way I look at it is, yeah, it would be great if we had this Excel spreadsheet and we had names next to it, and this person's doing this and this person's doing this, and
Dates.
dates. But that's gonna be a lot of work to get together. And we can still do it, but the lawn signs would be something that we could do right away. They can be used again. We could pick them up like the candidates did. They went and picked them up. They put them in the ground.
Who made the candidates, you know? Because there's one that has Reading. Haley used it.
Yeah,
Oh,
like the,
yeah.
like the town sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a nice,
It was nice.
I like that, but I don't know where you get that, or it's expensive, or.
We looked at some companies, and to get 250 yard signs was about $1,200. So that's a big chunk of money that would come out of the funds. But yard signs are very visible. If we can really, you know, get a map and get people to put them on the
And
wall.
they're durable too. It's not like, you know,
Glass.
sending postcards that go right into the recycle.
That's a good question, because it is a little ambiguous about what we can do as a town board, but is that something that the Friends of Reading seniors, Friends of Reading 60+ community, that they could do, and they wouldn't have the same restrictions that we would have?
It is, but they don't have money.
Oh, okay.
Can we give them money?
I don't know, actually, that's what
I'm
I was gonna
serious.
try to find out,
Yeah, we
whether
should look into whether. we
whether
can do that.
applying
But the
for a grant.
Lions Club was able to, I don't know if you've gotten it yet, but the Lions Club was gonna donate several $1,000s to the Friends bank account, so I don't know if we can though.
If it were for a specific designated purpose for the education of the community or something, you know, very carefully crafted to be within our mission. I would not personally see there any reason we couldn't, but we'd have to look into it.
Yeah. So I guess, needs more research. We need to have a real sit down with the town to figure out what we can say and what we can't say, and if friends could be involved, or, you know, it could just be 10 people get together.
Oh, you're saying, like, say if the Friends, that maybe we could say vote. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
You
Yeah.
can,
Cause you're,
Because that seems the more,
yes.
Yes.
you know.
But also at this point,
Yeah.
vote is a long way away. Right now, we're
Right,
just trying to.
right.
get
We don't
to
want it
people.
Wouldn't Sharon Thomas be able to tell us that about the Lions? She's involved in the Lions Club. Sharon Thomas.
yeah.
Are we talking about the Lions Club?
No, I was just saying that the Lions Club
Had said they would.
is going to
Planning.
donate some money to the Friends. But I don't know if the
But
Council
actually-
on Aging can donate money to the Friends. I don't know.
I think that, isn't that counterintuitive?
I don't know.
to
Usually
your
they give
supposed
money to
support
us.
That's
Like,
right.
that's a
Yeah, we're,
group.
right.
Right, you're
Yeah.
supplementing
I
But-
know,
well, But we don't run programs. They would give money to elder services, I think would be the one too.
yeah, they wouldn't,
Yeah,
they
they wouldn't
wouldn't
give
give
it
it
to
to
them.
Right,
us.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
So I guess, my question to people sitting around the table is it worth exploring this a little bit more? And do we think that doing an outreach campaign like this would raise awareness in the fall for the need for a new senior center?
And again, I think we need to find out what we are allowed to do.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah, so we need to do more.
Because even the mailing list and whatever, I mean, and yeah.
We
Do you
need
think anything's gonna happen in the fall?
Political signs in the fall, you will be completing with political lawn signs.
Well, and those are factors that
Election.
we've got to consider. There's always going to be an election going on.
Not
so-
like
Be a
this
big
one.
election.
I know, in November. But anyways, so here's my question. Some preliminary research was done. More research needs to be done. I'm not used to making motions.
You
but-
can't because you're chair.
Oh, okay. But can someone make a motion to say that it's worth the effort to do further research on it?
Do we need to make a vote?
I don't think we
I
vote.
think we need to make a vote for
we
that.
just put it
Put
on
the agenda.
on the next agenda.
Yeah,
Okay,
And it's
can-
just a
then we
question
can
of
discuss
who-
it.
It's the question of who is going to do that additional research, I think.
yes.
I started to say, I don't think anything's gonna happen in the fall, so I don't think we need to move too fast anyway. What's gonna happen in the fall? Nothing.
I think once we know where this is going to be proposed, what the select board is approving, I think that's really when we put a lot of energy
Yeah.
into it.
Right,
So, but in the meantime, we don't know.
and so you really can't.
actually, it's not even select boards, if I'm understanding it, it's not ultimately. Select board will make a recommendation, but it's really the
And then
building
town.
committee that will pick, no?
No,
No, it's
So-
the select
It's the
board.
select
makes
board
the
and then it
final
goes to
decision
town
and-
meeting.
then it
Yeah.
goes to
Okay,
town meeting.
so
And the select board could choose not to approve it.
they could, yes.
Mhm.
They could stop it dead in the water right there.
Right, so we don't want to get the cart
Right.
before the horse,
Mm-hmm.
So when Recalc
but we want to be thinking about it.
Recalc presents the deck that's being finished on August 20th with their recommendation. They're making their recommendation to select board, but select board at that meeting won't be approving the site. They'll just be saying, thank you, Recalc, right? Okay,
I think
okay,
so,
Because it's
yeah.
like, yeah.
okay. That's where I was getting confused.
Yeah,
Because they've got to wait until building committee
Yes.
does their
Yes.
whole analysis. So
Yeah.
then they'll come back to select board at some point.
Mhm.
And then after that, it'll be ready to go to town meeting hopefully. Okay, I got it,
Once the select board makes their decision,
Right.
their determination.
right?
because that will then allow it to be part of the warrant, which
Right.
would then go to town meeting.
And I
And
think the
going
warrant
back to what will
closes-
happen this fall is,
November, it's some.
No, the warrant closes like 6 weeks before.
Oh,
town
In
meeting.
town meetings in
Something
November.
like that, yeah.
The next
6
one
weeks.
is,
Is it the beginning, of October,
October.
the end of, I don't know.
End of September.
but going back to what will happen this fall, it would behoove us, I think, in the elder population to create a stir and an awareness and a voice about we really need a senior center. So the select board isn't just saying, gee, we really haven't heard that much about it except from these noisy little committees. I think there is an argument for starting to fan the flame earlier and get more public awareness.
To do something.
Just to
I
make-
just,
Select board realize it's not just a few committees, it's really, we're voicing something we perceive to be a community need. We need to get the community to speak up.
well, and maybe it's not the lawn signs. Although we don't want to do the lawn signs in the winter per se, but maybe it's a mailing. Maybe it's a postcard mailing.
I'm thinking more open meetings. I still think there's an awful lot of education. And in more different sites, maybe it's, and I know you do your weekly coffees over at the senior center, but I'm also thinking for more of the people who aren't gonna go to the senior center to see this. 'Cause they're a big piece of the vote that will matter and they're, you know, like.
I mean, at the library, something like that.
Library or even hold, you know, weekly coffees at the coffee shops around or have a buffet dinner, a low budget one, you know, people can come to. I mean, I just think something to start drawing people, but again, it's a big campaign discussion we have to have because I think we've done a good job of making information available to those who use the senior center. I think it's, but that's, you know, 1,600 out of 7,000.
But
If
Town
we-
Day
if we-
also helped.
Yeah.
Town Day helped, but I think we need to hit hundreds and hundreds, not
I mean,
20
if
and
we
30.
wait, if we wait too long
Yeah.
and we wait until it's right upon us,
It's too late.
it's too late.
So do we have a presence at the September fair, the street fair?
Mhm.
Yeah, we always go. But again, you
Yeah.
get 20, 30 people.
Well, the whole town comes out. for
Yeah, they
that.
do,
I
thousands.
know,
of
we
dollars.
had a terrible location last
Oh.
year.
It's the one we get every year. I don't know if we can do better.
I don't know, it was terrible. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this again in September.
Mhm.
Let's, because what we're doing here is we're throwing out even more ideas, you
Yes.
know?
Mhm.
So we need a calendar, we need a,
Maybe, sorry, one more idea. Maybe what we need is to distribute postcards to people to mail to the select board saying, I learned about this. I support it, you know,
That's a good idea, Marilyn. I
Yeah.
like that.
yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that, and mail them into them. So they've got some real evidence that, well, hopefully they'll mail them. Maybe they'll backfire. Well, I know nobody's even willing to put it in a mailbox in
Well,
the postage
that's-
stage, but
I know, that's what all the campaigns are doing now
yeah.
with the postcards and.
But
writing
again,
letters.
can we do that? It's just, if it's informational,
It's
Yeah,
informational.
If it's
Yeah.
But we're
information,
also allowed to advocate for the elderly. That's part of what we're supposed to do, so.
but advocating for the elderly doesn't necessarily mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
This is where-
We could
this is where I'm not sure.
get
Right.
input. I mean, but
Yeah.
I think there's something along those lines we
Yeah.
can certainly do.
The other thing to add for future agenda item, because you said strategy for outreach in September, we do need to talk about Street Fair Day in August.
Yeah, and get
Because the
volunteers
September
signed up.
meeting, I think.
Yeah, the date is.
How was the
September
location
September
decided?
8th is the
Eighth.
September
We should put that on the August,
Yeah.
August meeting agenda.
town,
What is that called?
The
Fair?
street fair.
Town fair, isn't it?
Reading.
Does anybody know how the
Right.
locations are assigned?
Pardon me?
I don't
Does
know.
anyone know how the locations are assigned for different groups?
All right, we're getting off track.
Yeah,
We gotta
We'll
talk about
discuss
this
it
for
next
next meeting.
okay.
We'll go back
Sounds
on now.
good.
But you just want to just quickly answer that question. Pretty much the town people get put up in front of the
Town hall.
town hall.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the way it works.
For the last 10 years, that's where we've been.
In
And
front of
no
the
one,
dog.
people,
You don't like that location.
oh, it's
I think
awful.
People
Chamber
don't
of
walk up
Commerce
there.
has
We want to
something
be
to
on
do
Haven
with it.
Street, right next to Harrow's.
All right, let's get back on track.
All right. Yes, sir. Okay, so anyways, as people come up with ideas, email me them. And I will be the collector of ideas.
Okay.
And maybe that can be the beginning of some kind of strategy that we can use when we meet in September to talk about this. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything you can think of, you know, anything. Airplane rides.
Lotteries, people like scratch tickets.
No,
We can't do that.
can't do that.
But you can.
So
A blimp.
that brings us
Focus,
into
focus.
schematic design. Can you bring up the
Yep.
Yep.
slideshow? Please?
Although this is what you made this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that people are aware this is not recalcs presentation.
No.
Yeah, I was
No.
confused with
Yeah, it took me-
Nancy's presentation.
This is not recalcs, this is not the
No,
presentation.
this is not the
Yeah.
presentation that Recalc is gonna be doing for the select board.
Not at all.
That is
What
not
is
a,
this?
Yeah, but I just wanna
So-
pick, since this is on RCTV now and recorded,
Yeah.
because this front page right here
Oh,
says
okay.
Reading Center for Active Living. This is not,
It's not.
Not
No.
their presentation.
yeah,
No.
well, go back to that first page though. The reason I put that there was because I think the Council on Aging, we worked collaboratively with Recalc, but boy, the Recalc committee worked really, really hard for, 3 years, 2.5 years to get to the point where we are now. And Mark Doxer was a champion of this. This whole committee is going to sunset in August. So I just want the public to know what a worthwhile committee this was and how effective it was. Which is why I added that at the last minute. But this is not a recalc presentation. This is a informational presentation of documents that have been published by our design consultant, BH+A. So,
So how does this connect to the schematic design discussion? I'm just
Well,
kind of-
let me start with a story. So what you see up there, and I believe it is posted on the recalc page, is the draft of the first 2 phases of the feasibility study. And you can see from the table of contents there, I should have made that bigger.
Was this draft done by BH&A?
Hmm?
Was this draft done by BH&A?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so BH&A put this together because one of their work products is a feasibility study. And that's what this is, the first 2 components of the feasibility study. So I would encourage people to go out there and read it. It's 90 some plus pages. And you'll notice down at the very bottom, the appendix has a number of the, I'm gonna have to get up and
References?
read it, yeah. A number of the environmental stats that they used, there's a geotechnical report. It's all information that was put together by BH+A as they determined how we were going to move forward. Okay, next slide. So the feasibility study actually had 3 components. And the first one was preparing the facilities program study. And basically that was to identify what kinds of activities needed to be done. And this is when Recalc went out and did all of their visits and put together a list of ideas of programs that Reading may be interested in exploring. The second phase of the feasibility study, which spanned several months, evaluated the sites. And we spent a lot of time on evaluating those sites. And the Council on Aging was part of evaluating those sites. We filled out those worksheets. And as a result of that, the ultimate site that Recalc is recommending is the Simons Way site. The third phase of the feasibility study is a preliminary schematic design. So that has not been done yet. And that is what BH&A is going to start as soon as we get an owner's project manager in. They are going to start the schematic design process. So the next few slides just tell the story of what was accomplished. We had actually 3 sites, the Pleasant Street Center site, which was kind of knocked out of the running, and it came down to Simon's Way and Oakland Road, with Oakland Road winning out. So sites was phase 2 of the feasibility study. As part of the feasibility study and part of the site reviews, what BH&A did was they put together, using the programming information that they obtained, they put together what a floor plan might look like. And this was not meant to be a final floor plan. It was just to get an idea of what would fit into the space for which we were selecting a site for. So next one. And the other piece of that, they took that site plan and they parsed it out amongst the program ideas as well as administrative space. And they looked at each one of the sites, Pleasant Street Center, as well as Oakland Road and Simon's Way. And Oakland Road and Simon's Way were very similar. And it was discovered that Pleasant Street, basically, it was going to cost more and we were going to get less. Next slide. Part of the phase 2 phase 2 of that feasibility study was they conducted a engineering preliminary traffic report, which is included in the feasibility study. Next slide. They also did a preliminary cost estimates. Remember, that raised a lot of comments from people. This is way too expensive. How can we afford this? But it was part of what BH&A was tasked to do as part of the feasibility study. So the feasibility timeline, the original timeline was that the BH&A would do the schematic design phase in the summer, and it would conclude in September 24. Notice we aren't anywhere near those dates. So those dates are no longer applicable. And the schedule, once we get the owner's project manager in, is going to be reworked. So that we'll be looking at the fall of 24 into 25, and with possible construction starting in 26. Just so people are aware, I don't know if people are aware of what the what's happening with the Permanent Building Committee. They are required by the town bylaws and by the town charter to participate and administer major town building projects with an aggregate cost of 1.5 million. In June, PBC, Permanent Building Committee, voted to accept ReCal as a town project. This past month, actually end of June, July 18th was the due date. An RFQ was posted and 5 proposals were submitted for consultants to apply for the owner's project manager. Those are currently being reviewed by the Permanent Building Committee. There's a subcommittee that's actually all of the Permanent Building Committee is reviewing every one of the consultant proposals. But there are going to be 3 people that will be conducting the interviews. And one is Nancy Toomey. She's an architect. Could you go back to that other slide for a second?
Although we probably need to watch because this is not schematic design. We're talking about a lot of other things.
Well, it is, but
You're kind of going in and out a little bit, but I just,
No, follow me on this, because in order to get to schematic design, these had to be completed. And it's important that we all understand what the process was and how we got to where we are in order to do the schematic design. I don't know if everybody is there. This is real quick. So during the Permanent Building Committee meeting, as well as the feasibility study, raised the concern about testing the soil at Simon's Way. And it was decided that Recalc could make their recommendation to the select board without having the soil testing done. But the select board most likely will not make a commitment until we know that soil is safe. But during this phase, as this is going on, the testing the soil as well as the proposals, BH+A is going to complete the schematics for the selected site. So they're only going to work on the one site. It's just going to be Simon's Way. Funding depends on the final cost estimate. And then we did talk about those two bullets down below. So basically, the owner's project manager is just that. He is going to manage the overall project. And if anybody wants to see the details, that he's going to put together, or she is going to put together a master project schedule and coordinate monthly reports. So all of this is going to be researched and well documented. So we'll be able to go back and look at it. So the next slide. So what's the schematic design that BH&A is going to do? It's basically taking the programming and the concept design, which is what you saw on the other slides, that was more a concept design. And they are going to translate it into architectural and spatial designs. The successful schematic design phase, they have to do the site analysis. It's part of the schematic design phase, as well as programming options. Both the building program and location have important implications in the design process. So during this phase, stakeholders, and that means Permanent Building Committee, it means Elder and Human Services, it means Council on Aging, will be working on this schematic design with BH+A, so that what we ultimately come up with is something that the town can point to as meeting the needs for the site as well as the programming, and hopefully within the cost. So next slide. So at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to Marilyn. And Marilyn has been doing some work on this, on looking at what was done for the conceptual design, also looking at other senior centers out there. And much like we need a strategy for outreach, we need a strategy for the schematic design. If we don't get involved in it, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to turn it over to.
And I think the details of the schematic design to a great extent will make, or certainly will have a tremendous impact on the value of what we build. And this is our opportunity, I think, to have some input. And I know Nancy was encouraging us to think this way several meetings ago when she brought the wonderful outlines and wanted us to cut the little squares out for the rooms and think about what we thought. I found that very hard. I was all excited at first, and then I realized I don't know what I'm doing here, Mac. But for me, it's easier to look at a place. This is North Andover, which I knew of because my brother and sister-in-law used to live there and I know their community is so excited. It's new. It opened within the last year. It's about 13,500 square feet. And they have about 7,000 people age 60 plus, so they're actually a little smaller than Reading. It's beautiful. I really encourage everyone to go and they're direct, yes, sir?
How much did it cost?
I don't know that. But it cost whatever a town could pay. Their average income, household income is lower than Reading's. It's not a wealthy community.
Andover?
Yes,
I
as
don't
opposed to Andover. I can tell you, at least in 2022.
Well, as opposed to Reading.
The median income, household income in North Andover in 2022 was 130,312. And the median household income in Reading in 2020 was 151,469. Yes. So I did my homework. And you can play games with the averages and how many are in the same, I mean, you know, but this is in our ballpark of a reasonable place to get ideas. I'm not saying it's the same as Reading's needs or potential, but to me, I can look at this and say, and the director is extremely willing to be helpful, to share any and all information. And Nancy and I went up. I finally got Nancy up there. I've been saying, come see, for about 2 years. Anyway, it's gorgeous, but, and there are things that are not perfect about this. She wishes it were bigger already. And
And
there,
she wishes she had a gym.
and she was very envious. I mean, what this doesn't have is a gym. So this would be like dedicated senior space as opposed to also gym and whatever else Recalc would want, or the rec part of Recalc would want, like office space for rec is not in this, and that would have to be added. But this is only 13,500 square feet out of the 20-something thousand we're talking about. Anyway, I found this really helpful. What I would like to do is take this and translate this into, first measure square feet, they're not on their diagrams and she didn't have them. So we just need to go up with a tape measure and see how big are these rooms. And for example, their multi-purpose room on the first floor is large enough that Chris's dream come true. They have the capacity to leave the tables set up most of the time and still have half the room that could be adjusted so that the staff doesn't have to take up and put down the tables every hour on the hour. It's got massive, really accessible storage space. It's really lovely. It's got glass walls everywhere. It's a very upbeat place. It's got things that she wishes were different, like it's got a diagonal fireplace in the, what's it called? The cafe lounge, which I love, but that was the one thing she really regretted. She said, that's a fire, but you can't move it. And when she wants to do something in there that needs the whole room, if it were on wheels, she'd love it, but it's not. It's a fireplace with a chimney. So that was a design feature she would advise against doing the way they did it. So it's got things we can learn from it. And what I think is really important is you can look at the space and talk to them about, okay, A, which programs run in which rooms? B, how many participants can they fit in each of these in each room? And this is what we need. Chris, your help on this as in particular is what you envision it would be good to have in Reading if we could. And it gives us just a starting point. If we could find another community that's similar, all the better. It doesn't have to be North Andover's, but I personally would love for a couple of people to go up with me with a tape measure and let's start measuring these rooms and fill out a table on some of these things. And also you can see what a community of reasonable thinking people was able to do, who was committed to having what seniors need. I mean, I was so taken aback. I was trying to help Recalc fill in the one slide on their deck where they didn't have a percent growth. And I did some research, and what UMass came up with is that in 2010, I believe it was, 1 out of every 5 residents was over 60, but by 2030, they expect that to be 1 out of 3. I mean, think about it. Look around the market basket. 1 out of every 3 people in there over 60. Look in the library, look at Walkington. It's going to be a much older community, and these people are entitled to the kinds of places that they need to have a healthy experience aging in Reading. So anyway, this helped me start thinking this way, but it needs to be translated into square foot by kinds of activities and compare it to what you'd like to accomplish. and fill something, because if we can give them that detail as they go into doing the detailed schematics, I think we'll come out much closer to something we really like. The lobby, for example, I love it. I mean, it's very open, it's easily accessible, it's got an entryway that's got a covered place, so you can drive in and not have to get out under the rain. I mean, it's, I think, well thought out, and so it's a good example. And if a couple of people want to go, I'm happy to drive up with our tape measures and go to work on trying to document some of this and translate it into what we'd really like to have, but it's a starting point. The other thing it helps us think with, I think, it's hard to think, at least I find, Chris has probably got a great vision, but for me, I find it hard, even though I advocate it all the time, to know what to recommend for that. So the great unparticipating part of the elder population and what they might like to do. And this gives us a real example of what happens. She told us that when they opened, participation went up 85%. And the number of people using their senior center went up 42%. And their transportation use went up 30%. These are real numbers, because we get all hung up on the, well, we don't really know how many would use it. And maybe they don't come because they don't want to and never will. We just don't know. But this is an example that's not that dissimilar, that we can say, well, here's an example, look what actually happened. So I highly advocate that we milk this for all it's.
I did go online to see how much this was.
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks like it was 11 million, and then they had to spend an additional 550,000 to pay for an adjoining lot for parking.
So it was cheap, but this doesn't have the gym and stuff, so it should be
11
bigger.
million.
That's cheap. But
That
again,
was
it's
in
small.
2020. So
Pardon me?
that was in 2020.
Yeah, and it's smaller because it doesn't have the gym and things like that, but.
It's
It's
just a
ballpark.
senior center.
Oh, and actually, to that point, the way they are a senior center, it's managed by senior center employees, but the way they pitch it to the community, and they're very serious about it, is it's a senior center for community use. And the community is encouraged, just as they are with Pleasant Street,
To rent
to
it.
rent it and use it, and they do it a lot. And lots again of things that people like, oh, you need the custodial staff and this and that, and the cost. And yeah, you do, but they've also found that it's not so complicated as you might think. Their deal with this is most things they don't need custodial staff. People know to clean up, and the deal is if you don't, you will never be rented to again. So guess what? They clean up after themselves. So things that in theory seem like big potential hurdles, it's a good way to see, well, what can be done. So anyway, that's my pitch for, let's go take a ride up to North Andover and start measuring. So
And I think your point is such an important one. It's a senior center for community use.
I like that.
We have absolutely identified the need for a better facility for senior, for the 60+ community. And so the concern for me is, as I've always said, I want whatever we propose to the town to be passed the first time. But I don't think a $28 to $30 million project is going to be passed. Not when we have to also, not next year, not when we have to pass another project that we will lose state funding for. So I am concerned about that. And one of the other things that has come up, is there is space behind Burbank Arena that could possibly be used for the senior center instead of the Zani land. So that's another thing to consider as well. And I think that that's going to be coming up in the conversations.
Yeah.
So
would that save us though? What does that save to go behind the Burbank as opposed to Elk?
huge savings,
Why?
Why?
because they don't have to test the land.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I
That
was
is our-
talking to Jenna,
It has already been tested for when they built,
not for the parking,
Burbank.
not for the parking.
I think they had to test the whole thing. My understanding is that it has been tested.
So we need to figure that. We need
Yeah,
to
right.
get all the facts
Right.
on that particular one.
But was
I mean, we're kind of getting off topic here, but
But it gives us a vision. And the thing I felt really lacking in all of this is we have a vision of all the things that are wrong and lacking. We've got really good vision. We got a movie on it. But we don't have a good vision. Pardon me? We need a vision of something that we think would be good.
That the town, no, that the town is trying to do what's best for the seniors, but also keep in mind what the residents are willing to
Yes.
spend, including our 60+ population. We don't want to price them out of our community. So that's the challenge before us.
Right, but that one's not our challenge. That's the challenge, I would say, for the building committee and the select board and all the rest. Our challenge is to articulate a clear picture of what we think is a reasonable ask.
Sorry, I just realized Jean Prado's on and she has her hand up.
Ah, okay. Hello, Jean.
Hi, quick thing for you. I just came in about 5 minutes ago into the meeting, but I did listen to the details of North Andover, etc. But now, after hearing this, I think, and I have concern about this. I'm feeling that the senior needs are second here to a recreational need. So how do we go about addressing this? Like Marilyn just mentioned, it's a beautiful facility in North Andover and they don't have a gym, but yet their clientele is increasing because of a new facility. So where does that leave us?
I don't understand what you mean.
What I'm saying is, I think we need to start emphasizing a senior center. That's all I'm hearing in town is, oh, we need a gym and we need this and we need that for more recreational purposes. Not for the additional clientele for our arts and crafts or our director, offices, etc., nurses station. So this is my concern. Are we're promoting, or we know we need the COA is for the elderly. But I'm hearing that the word senior is not even in some of the presentations. It's all recreation, active living. When I hear that, I think of the youth. Why can't it read Reading Senior Center, Active Living Center?
I think that's.
You know, yeah, I think what we're talking about, I hear you, Jean, and yeah, that is a concern. And, that,
I know it's a concern,
but the proposal that Recalc worked on was for a senior / community center. So that is nothing, that's there, that's a fact. So what we have to do is using what Marilyn is suggesting, looking at the facilities and figuring out what extra rooms do we need and how big do they need to be, and then ultimately how are they going to be managed? But that's actually, I'm talking myself into a corner here, but that's not the schematic design. The schematic design is more layout. But this is a senior / community center. That's it.
Ours.
Ours.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
North Andover.
Right.
Not, yeah. But that's what Reading is building. That was the direction that Recalc wrote up in their final report. So my recommendation is that we not move and look back. We need to go forward and make this happen so that it works for the seniors. And then if, you know, recreation is a part of it, first, and this is what they said, Recalc said in their study, the primary objective was a senior center.
I understand,
So-
yeah, I understand that, Nancy, but I think in the last month or two, it's being presented more as an active living center with
Well,
a gym.
That's the title. but-
That's the title and that's what it's gonna be. There's actually a lot of senior centers throughout the country
Called that.
have changed their name from a senior center to an active living center because it gets rid of that stigma. And a lot of younger 60s are increasingly aware of their health, and having a gym is actually a real plus. So we just don't want to move back.
Can I throw my 2 cents? in?
Yes, go ahead.
Jane, also, what I'm talking about, I hear you, but what I'm talking about here is not meant to be the exhaustive ask, but we're going into a stage where detailed, real schematics that will result in real blueprints where they do things like know where you need supporting walls and things like that are way out of my scope. I think we should not miss the opportunity to articulate as clearly as we can what the ask for the senior part of this project should be. That doesn't mean there shouldn't also be someone on the rec side or wherever asking for what they, and a real prime example is there's no office space for rec in this plan. And at the very least, they're gonna be asking for that. And we seem like everyone's excited
Oh,
about it.
no, I agree with that, but I just feel that my thought is this: I think we just need to stress the senior side of it. And as far as the footage of what you just mentioned for North Andover, is
Yeah.
there any way to ask them? Because on their schematic, they must know the size of each room versus taking a tape
No.
measure.
No, we've talked to them. The way their blueprints are is it's all chunked out into little bits and
Oh, okay.
you have to sit and add it all up and it'd just be more efficient to go in. Nancy and I did one room, but we really just, and we don't need to do every one of these, but like the major program rooms, at least, it would be nice to know. Won't take us probably more than half an hour. Let's just go in and get some hard numbers and put it on a grid where we also, well, how many participants fit for what kinds of activities? We need to start making it real and translating into real people and real programs, not just this hypothetical. You know, right now, we're 2 designated spaces of no particular determination.
So what's our next steps for tonight?
Well, the next step is that, and we can't do, well, first of all, we can't, we're kind of ahead of ourselves, and that's a good thing. Because we don't want to be behind the 8 ball, so we want to be ahead of ourselves. And we want to be ahead of ourselves in terms of what is this center going to look like? And how is it going to work for the 60+ population?
And what must it have?
And what must it have? And what BHNA and probably Recalc will tell you is that what you see right there, you might not like the way the rooms are laid out, but what you see are what their analysis of programs for the Reading senior community, what rooms and the sizes of the rooms would work. So we need to make sure that that is accurate.
And we wouldn't expect it to be, because as they told us many times, this is just to prove what could fit.
Well,
It was to give test numbers.
No,
It's in the
they-
slides.
no, but they did say, for example, I think the arts and crafts room is 9 900 square feet. I
It's
can't see
mammoth.
from there.
Who needs a
900.
900 square foot arts?
900 square feet.
Hmm?
It's 900 square feet on here.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is, well, to my mind, it was much too arbitrary and not translated into how many. I would argue that few art teachers could teach the number of people who would fit in a 900. For that reason, I'd say it's not fully thought through. For purposes of testing what could fit, I think it was fine. But for where we are now, I'm trying to move us past that because I don't think it's fine. For the
In a
next
game
step.
room of 1,000 square feet.
Well, and if
Unless-
you remember the discussions on that, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. The discussions on that was that the rooms could be divided. So that we were looking at spaces that maybe it's just 2 spaces, but the spaces could be divided. We did talk about
No,
that.
I know there was talk, but also when I asked the questions, because divided ones have to then have direct exits to each part of the division. It would be a hard challenge there. I don't think there's any fault in this as a first step. I don't think it's gonna come out looking much like what it is gonna end up being.
I second Chris's question. So what are our next steps?
So it sounds like we're kind of going in circles here because we're not, I mean, none of us are design experts.
Right.
It kind of sounds like, you know, if you want to go visit North Andover, so we can kind of start getting an idea of what the new building's kind of square footage has, so we have something to compare it to. I don't think would be a bad idea for as our next step. And then we can kind of come back and start comparing, you know, hey, the center has, you know, an arts and crafts room that's 600 square feet or whatever. And then we can kind of start formulating what our thoughts are on what we should have. Because right now, I mean, we're not going to get very far tonight just by looking
No.
at
Oh, no,
this.
it
So
wasn't that we're
I think-
looking- No.
I think tonight, I mean, I think we've done a really good job. I like the idea of we're thinking about it. I think we do need to think about it, and I think that's important. You know, but, you know, I think would be good to maybe even Wilmington and go see
Yeah.
Wilmington's new center, see North Andover and see what their square footage is, just to have, that way we can get some comparisons and knowledge. And then we can start giving some recommendations on what we think.
And we've got to translate it into how many people fit in the square footage.
Yeah.
Square footage is not the goal. People that we can serve on a given kind of activity is I would say, the goal. And so it needs to be translated into that. We can
So
get that
you
by
have to
going to
go
real
there
places.
when people are in the
Yeah.
center and they're having their programs.
Well, the
whether that's
director will know how many people are in, just like Chris knows how many people. are in. She's very willing to help us.
That Jane Bruns?
No, this is North Andover, not Andover. It's Kathy, and I can't remember her last name at the moment.
But I think we've gone as far as we can tonight.
We have.
We need some
Yeah.
volunteers. Anybody willing to
I'll
come?
go with you.
Rosemary will come with me. Anybody else? Take
Can
my-
do we have to go as a group? Or can we?
No,
just go
only
individually?
no sense having 2 people.
I have a laser measure you can take with you. So you don't have
Wonderful.
to-
Wow.
So you don't have to just take it to
Wow.
measure.
All right,
We don't have to look like the geeks.
Yes,
hold that over there.
Reading's here.
The other thing, I wouldn't get hung up with labels on every room because as you know, at our present center, one room is used for many different
Right.
activities.
Right.
Yeah,
So we, like you were
I think
saying,
they
the
have
arts and
activity-
crafts room.
Yeah, I think they have activity room 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or program room 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's generic.
but we can start getting some ideas, I think,
Yeah.
you know, and just kind of comparing to what we have, like, you know, arts and crafts. You know, right now, arts is in the great room with 1,100 square feet, so somewhere between 900 and 1,100 square feet probably would be, because you have an entire art class in there, which makes sense. Now, a game room, right now, we're using about 300 square feet, so 1,000 square feet might be a little overkill.
Well, it depends. Are
You
you
know,
talking about where they
but-
play pool?
No, I'm talking about upstairs where you play cards and, you know,
That's
like the
small.
game rooms. So, you know, right now, the lounge, I think it's just under 400 square feet, you know, and then the kitchen is about 300 square feet. So you're looking at 700 square feet would probably be a pretty good sized game room, as long as the acoustics are good. So we can start taking a look at that,
Yeah, let's just give us.
you
this-
know,
this
brainstorming.
It takes the hypothetical out. It's like, here's a community that's thought this through and they're not happy with everything they learned. It's not perfect, but they also have things that are working. Like, it just takes it out of the what ifs. And it's like, oh, here are some examples on how it turned out, and it translates it into how many people could we serve in different ways, which I think will be helpful to the architects personally.
So when we go to North Andover, I think we should also take notes on what they're not happy with.
Yes,
So that we
yes,
can
like the
avoid
fire,
that.
like the fireplace, they can't move.
Yeah, well, if we want a fireplace, we can order, we can get one of those that move around. They have them.
Anyway, all right, Rosemary will come with me.
Yes, they will.
All right, we'll set a date.
Okay.
Nice show.
Okay.
John has something to say.
Motion to adjourn.
Ah,
Second. You need to.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Oh, that's right. Jean Prado. Adjourn.
Yes, I'm here.
Joan Coco,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Rosemarie,
Yes.
John Parsons,
Yes.
Karen Panett,
Yes.
Karen Janowski.
Yeah.
And Nancy Zimmer. Yes.
Thank you all.
For all the.
Associate.
Thanks for all.
Jonathan.
No, I just-